Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube, and I got a video here. I guess it's kind of a follow-up to another video I did in the past, and it was on this cover right here of The Economist, The World in 2015. What you're seeing right here is a classic example of the esoteric in the mainstream. For the last several years, we're seeing more and more of these occultic ideas coming out in the mainstream. This is where the whole idea of breaking apart Illuminati symbolism comes from in videos and movies and TV shows. It's all part of an awakening that's been taking place really heavily over the last few years. Many of the secrets that the shadow controllers, if you will, have known about for centuries are finally starting to come out in the mainstream. And this kind of information is coming out in a very interesting way. It's not just coming right out in your face. They're not telling you everything. This is where understanding symbolism comes in. There's a lot of you out there who are into this, who understand it, who are awake to this, and you're doing videos on this stuff, and I'm really glad to see that. Because again, this is part of a massive awakening. I'm not going to go into a breakdown of this cover right here because, as I said, I've already covered it on another video. A lot of other people have covered this as well. You can look into that yourself if you're interested, and you should, because whenever you really start looking closer at this cover, you find all kinds of very interesting things taking place all throughout. So we're not really going to explore the world in 2015 because I've already covered it, and as I said, a lot of other people have covered it as well. But if you start looking into this, you look in a little bit closer, there is a whole lot of stuff that's going on this cover. And what made this so interesting for so many of us out here is, once again, it had a lot of this occult, esoteric knowledge hidden within all the images. And this is stuff that many of us have been seeing and covering for a few years now. So it's interesting now that we see this kind of thing coming out in such a mainstream publication, again right before our eyes, yet so few people can see. Now, they actually had covers in the past and nobody really noticed. You see The World in 2013, The World in 2014, but it wasn't until we saw The Economist cover The World in 2015 that people really stood up and took notice. Now they're back with a new cover, The World in 2016. And once again, this one's very interesting and it really stands out. There's a few things I noticed right off the bat when I saw this. I want to cover some of that in just a moment. What I'm really looking forward to is the comment section here, because just like last time when I did the video for the cover of The World in 2015, many of you uncovered many of the secrets that were in that cover, so I appreciate that, and I definitely look forward to your input on this video as well. On this particular cover, there's not as much when it comes to some of the smaller symbols kind of hidden in there. They definitely have some in here. But there's really just a few that I kind of wanted to cover here. I thought were really interesting. But looking closer, there's just a few of the obvious things I wanted to point out here first before I get to the main point. But right up here in the top right hand corner, it's no surprise we have the false prophet. We have the Pope up here, and I've covered him in a lot of videos, other people have as well. We have the false prophet, we have the Pope, and he's underneath the sun. So with this particular picture, with all of these elite players on the cover, the sun takes on a whole new meaning. This goes back to sun worship, or the worship of Lucifer, the light bearer. This is the one thing that all of these secret societies have in common. Oftentimes these secret societies will fight amongst each other. They also work together at the same time. They work in unison because they have a common goal, and that common goal is the New World Order, the One World System, the Beast System, the Antichrist System. And then moving down, I wanted to show you just a few more things. I mean, here's another one right here, another one of the obvious. We have this spaceship on here. It's interesting that they call this The World in 2016. It makes me wonder just how close to full disclosure we really are. But I've covered this subject in a lot of other videos. Some of you have covered this as well. It's the idea that we're literally being prepared for this great deception. We're really being prepared for these alien visitors. And they're going to sell these alien visitors to us as, it'll be like the ancient astronaut theory. These will be like our space saviors. And I understand it'd be easy to discount that if you're not familiar with this kind of research or these subjects and just think this is all just kind of crazy. But please check out some of my videos on the alien demon deception. Check out some other people's work on these subjects as well. You'll soon see that this is a very real thing we're dealing with. Moving over, I thought this was interesting as well. It's another one of the obvious, but you have the American flag, a rainbow, flying backwards. Anytime a country flies its flag backwards, that is typically a sign of hostile action or hostile takeover. I think that fits nicely on this cover with all of these elite. It also says a lot about how the elites are using the LGBT agenda, the gay agenda. Now this has nothing to do with you as an individual. If you're homosexual, you're listening to this, I'm not saying you're all a part of this agenda. But whether you like it or not, the system is using this, is using the LGBT agenda, the gay agenda. This is all part of their plan. So what are they telling us here? We have the American flag with the rainbow, the LGBT, right, flying backwards. It's almost like they're saying mission accomplished. And something else is interesting is just to the right of that backwards American flag is somebody reading a novel, and it's called The Future. So you start kind of putting these pieces together, and this really is a puzzle. Now here in a moment I want to show you the main symbolism I saw when I first saw this that really told me that again we're dealing with something esoteric. This is occult knowledge. So now let's take a look at the bottom of the picture, and I want to show you what it is that I'm talking about. You take a look right down here at the bottom, and you can see all these figures, these 4 little figures down here. All of them are standing on top of a black mirror. You see the reflection there? This is very important, and to me this is the key symbol of this entire picture. It tells us really everything we need to know. The black mirror, the reflection, as above so below, right? But it goes much deeper than just that. Since ancient times, mirrors, as well as all smooth reflective surfaces, have been used for divination, magic, and repelling evil. They also have been greatly feared for their power to steal the soul and to allow things into this reality. In recent times, mirrors have been used as tools in psychic development to increase clairvoyance. Divination with mirrors is also called crystallomancy, or catoptromancy, and scrying. In the West, magic mirrors were particularly popular from the Middle Ages to the 19th century. They were used by all classes of society, but especially by magicians, witches, sorcerers. In a barely known method of mirror gazing, steam can also provide divinatory responses. This requires that the mirror is hung on a wall and low table placed before it. After filling a large pot with water and heating it to a boil, the diviner places it on the table in front of the mirror. As the steam rises, the mirror gets cloudy. The inquirer could either gaze into the mirror's surface and interpret the shapes formed, or wait for the steam to condense and drip down the mirror's silvered face, forming into shapes. Now this right here is where you get the term smoke and mirrors. You've heard that before, right? Pierre Cotton, the confessor to King Henry VI of France, allegedly had a magic mirror that revealed to him the plots against the king. In ancient Greece, the witches of Thessaly reputedly wrote their oracles in human blood upon mirrors. Pythagoras was said to have a magic mirror that he held up to the moon to see the future. Even the Romans were also skilled in mirror reading. They called these special divinatory mirrors specularii. In more recent times, mirrors as magic tools have fallen out of widespread popular fashion, but are still used by diviners, psychics, and students of psychism. Mirrors are more commonly used for divination in the East than in the West, and in parts of India, preparation for mirror divination involves rituals of fasting, prayer, and perfuming of the mirrors. In many tribal societies, the reflection is believed to be the soul. Exposing the soul in a mirror or a reflecting surface makes it vulnerable to both danger and death. Johannes Hartlieb, in his account of mirror scrying, says that he has seen masters who maintain that they can prepare mirrors in such a way that any man or woman can see them inside the mirror for what they actually are. And there is even a history of priests using these black mirrors, believing that only angels or demons can appear. A common belief in many cultures holds that a person who sees his or her reflection will soon die. This is the basis for the Greek myth of Narcissus, who looked upon his reflection in the water and pined and died. The ancient Greeks also believed that dreaming of seeing one's reflection was an omen of death. A worldwide folklore custom is the removal of mirrors from sick rooms, lest the mirror draw out the soul of the weakened persons, and the turning or removal of mirrors upon death in the house. According to superstition, whoever looks into a mirror following a death will also die. Mirrors are associated with evil. In Russian folklore, they are the invention of the devil and will draw souls out of bodies. So now you understand a little bit more about the history of the black mirror. And we see this time and time again. A lot of movies have covered this subject. This right here is from The Ring. And of course, in the movie The Ring, the mirror acted as a portal between this world and the next, right? And again, that's a very common theme. You see this turn up in all kinds of movies. The movie Black Swan was just another example, and a very solid example at that. And it's interesting they played it out at the very end. It's almost as if the main character, as if her evil side that she kept fighting with through this mirror finally broke through, finally came in, ultimately kind of possessed her. So again, it's a very common theme. We may not notice it, but it certainly turns up in all kinds of movies, TV shows, and just media in general. So now that we understand a little bit more about the history of the Black Mirror and the history of the divination, and the idea that this Black Mirror is literally acting as a portal between worlds, this cover takes on a whole new meaning then. Once again, we look at the very bottom, and what do we see? We see the Black Mirror. Now we understand what the Black Mirror is all about. It's interesting when it comes to a lot of this witchcraft, a lot of these spells these people do. The language of symbolism, I've talked about this in the past, but a lot of it has to do with intention. What's the intention behind the symbol? Is it meant to cause us harm? Is it meant to bring you something nice? So it's interesting, now that we understand a little bit more about the Black Mirror and how it's literally used as a portal between worlds, it makes me wonder what the intention is behind this symbolism. Now, I've covered that subject in a lot of videos in the past. It's the idea of symbolism and how it affects us. So in this case, we're dealing with the hidden controllers, right? All the secret societies that are really running things, or the elite power structure. These witches and warlocks at the top of the pyramid. It almost makes me wonder if this is what their intention is. They're telling you this is going to be the world in 2016. It's like they're telling us this is the world in 2016. This is the world we want in 2016. And then we have the Black Mirror at the bottom of the image, seemingly bringing in these dark forces to make this a reality. So that's what I wanted to cover with you guys. I appreciate you checking out the video. As I said, I definitely look forward to the comment section. I'd like to hear what you guys think about this and see what you see in here. We need to use all of our facilities to understand the times that we're in. You have to use your logic, your reason, your critical thinking skills, your spiritual discernment, all of it. It takes all of that to understand these things and the times we're in. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video, you guys. I look forward to your comments down below, and take care. I'll talk to you real soon.